If God had a name, what would it be? And would you call it to his face if you were faced with him in all his glory? What would you ask if you had just one question? Oh, yeah. God is great. Yeah. God is good. Yeah. This episode, really we just talk about beliefs and God, religion, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Nationals winning the World Series, Dylan with Life, Episode 5. Enjoy the ride.
I used to think if I couldn't find hope, I should just let it all go. I used to think if I couldn't make dreams come true, I should just let them all go. When life seems impossible, look from a new angle. Change just one little thing. When life feels intolerable, find your true source of love. Concentrate, focus on love. Center now, focus on love. Dedicate, focus on love. Focus now, focus on love.
You know when you wake up from a nap, that one that you didn't even really intend on having, it just sort of happened, and then you're so disoriented, especially if you have that nap around dusk, and you wake up and it's different light level outside, it's dark now, you have no idea how long you were out for, you're not even sure exactly when you fell asleep, you're groggy, just trying to get a bearing on things for the first 10 seconds of being awake. I feel that's what life is like, especially in your 20s and 30s. I think we're all just dropped here. We didn't necessarily sign up for it, weren't exactly ready for it. All of a sudden we just sort of woke up and it was like, oh, fuck, where am I? What time is it? What am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to make food now? Am I supposed to go back to bed? Wake up later? Do I need water? I think I probably need water. Everybody needs water. That's what I feel life is like right now. I've been realizing lately that I'm falling back into a pit from episode 2 that I discussed. It's crept up on me. I didn't really realize it. And that's usually how it goes, honestly. I mean, there are probably signs, but I didn't address them the way that I should have. But a week or two goes by, and now I'm noticing I haven't tidied up in a while, and I'm tired again and lacking motivation. I need to do laundry, but I'm still putting it off, and I'm running out of clothes. And I think the podcast will be a good weekly reminder to take stock of how things are going and how I'm dealing with life. I hope that it can be that for you as well when you listen to the podcast too. Have a look around, see how you're currently doing. Make sure that you're taking the garbage out. Gonna do riddles for you guys. So, without further ado, my favorite riddle that I've heard so far that took me a long time to figure out, it is, you're standing there, there are 2 doors in front of you. One goes to heaven, one goes to hell. Each door has a guard in front of it. One guard always tells a lie. The other guard always tells the truth. You can only ask one of those guards one question. What question can you ask that will tell you which door goes to heaven? Don't Google it. Don't cheat yourself. Just see if you can figure it out. I'll give the answer later. Email it in. Tweet it in. If you think you've got the answer, send it in. If you get it right, I'll mention that on the next podcast when I give the answer and do the next riddle. If you've got riddles of your own that you really like, send those in. I'm thinking of riddles that I really like, and I'm only going to be able to go a couple episodes without having to start looking for new ones. And I remember I've looked for riddles online before, and it was the most garbage riddles. They barely made sense. They weren't good. They weren't clever. When I got the answer, I wasn't like, oh, yeah, of course, that's great. It was like, that's dumb. Why did I waste my time thinking about that? So send in your answers if you got it. Or if you don't got it, send in whatever you're coming up with. I hope that you're making breakfast while listening to this, because breakfast is far and away the best meal of the day. Better than lunch, better than dinner, better than dessert for sure. Something about breaking the fast, getting up in that first meal of the day, so good. You can have a light breakfast. Those are nice. Not usually my style. I like to go for the eat way too much for my first meal of the day because I haven't eaten since I woke up. And who even knows if this is the same life, There's no way to prove that when you go to sleep and when you wake up that that's the same life. You may have gone to sleep in a different dimension and woken up in this new one. Nothing to prove that it's the same world you went to sleep in, especially when you just sort of blacked out for 8 hours. So it's important to have a big meal after that journey. Easier when you have the day off and you're doing breakfast, or at least you've got the early part of the day off. Giant breakfast before having to work can suck, at least for work. It's great for breakfast, sucks for work. Oh, one thing that I just remembered, want to make sure that you guys know is that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So don't forget that. Also, recommendation today, I'm going to recommend a YouTube video that I saw during the week that I thought was really cool, and the creator of it deserves more recognition and just more views, more people seeing what they created. So it'll be a YouTube video, cool little 3-minute video that I think you'll enjoy because I enjoyed it. I don't know if and I guess I'm thinking about this because of the riddles. I don't know if I believe in a God, but I wholeheartedly believe in belief. And at that point, I don't think whether gods do or don't exist matters, especially with the fact that it can never be definitively proven one way or another. All that matters is whether someone believes or not. And at that point, God is real or isn't real, and that depends on the person. And if you can't prove them otherwise, then God is both real and not real. The quote for this episode is from Friedrich Nietzsche. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. And I think that pretty much sums it up. God is either real or not real, and it all depends on what we believe. Earlier in civilization, earlier in history, almost everybody believed in God, and therefore he was real, he was alive. And now we're getting away from that, for better or for worse. And now God is dead. He's not real anymore. I've had a couple of, I'll say, interesting instances where I've been feeling really down and lost, and I've decided to just ask someone, something, just ask the sky basically for something, usually pretty vague. But every time I've done this, which has been around maybe 4 times, I've had almost immediate results that as soon as it happened gave me chills. Made me wonder what exactly is going on. Is this just happenstance, a coincidence that would have taken place anyway? Is there more at work here? Does it matter either way? I've purposely not kept asking for things in this manner because I don't, I guess, want to lose hope that maybe, just maybe there's something else going on. Maybe it's just the power of the mind. Maybe asking for something is putting that thought into my brain, and my brain then creates the world I perceive around me and attributes things to other things to make the experience a certain way. Doesn't have to be a god or a superior being up there somewhere. It might just be the way that the brain works, and putting things out into the universe is gonna make them real. I'm terrified of death. My mind is absolutely crippled by the thoughts of it. The idea of the impending nothingness, the idea that one day I'll stop seeing things, stop hearing things, that one day I'll no longer be able to hug my loved ones, and really the fact that my loved ones won't matter. Even if there does end up being a next phase, what's the likelihood that the however many years I'm alive for during this life would hold much weight outside of here, in an afterlife, in something else? Why would just these years matter? And so everything in this life, I guess, would lose its importance if there's something else. And then if there's nothing else, then that's just a terrifying thought. And I guess the idea of God or some sort of superior being or some sort of grander scheme of things is the only thought that can help break my panic. And whether I wholeheartedly believe some of the things that I think, or whether I just use them to break the delirium of my mind at times, I don't think matter. I think the lines are blurred, and the more I need a thought to be true in order to continue to soldier on, the more my mind will push it out as fact. I think that's what it is to be human, right? I think we can convince ourselves of anything depending on how we're pushed, whether we're pushed physically, emotionally, or mentally, for better or for worse. And there's a terrifying beauty in that. Sometimes I wonder if any of this is real, not in the sense of like, is this a simulation or anything like that? Let's give that up. That's a stage or dimension above us. Us and these lives we're living are real. At least they are real to us, and that's all that matters. But within this life, is it all that it seems? There's no way for me to prove I wasn't admitted to a mental hospital as a kid, and I've spent the last 20 years in the same building while my mind has created this life for me to live. Is my work real? Are my friends real? Are the people I see in the street real? Maybe most everything is, but maybe there's one person in my life that isn't. Maybe they're just a figment of my imagination that nobody else sees or exists in their life. And at this point, I have no way of proving or learning otherwise. And I guess to reiterate again, does that even matter? Probably not. It matters what I believe, and what I see and what I hear is what I believe. So that's all that matters. That's what makes things real. That's what's so scary about beliefs and thoughts and propaganda, is the fact that if you believe something, that makes it real, at least for you, whether it's wrong or whether it's right, or whichever side of whichever line you fall on. And that's why wars are fought, and there's so many issues in the world, because we're not all thinking the same way. Not exactly that we should be thinking the same way. It's different perspectives is obviously good, and we can learn from each other. But when it comes down to like things like racism, that just stems from a belief that is then real in your mind, and now there's an issue between you and somebody else, or you and a lot of other people, and all that it takes to change that is for you to realize that that's just your belief. Other people have other beliefs, and yours might not be right. You just think it is because it's yours. So if you can find a way to really see everybody's opinions and realize that you might not be right, realize that you just have a belief, you're going to be able to understand other people a lot easier. I now think that going through different hardships in life are just to make me a stronger and, more importantly, better and more balanced person. They're humbling. Like, I do believe, I don't know, in like some determined outcome, or that this life is all set up for me and it's just getting me to a certain point, or that things are set up for me specifically to grow. I do think that these experiences are ones that I'm meant to have, that I'm meant to deal with, that I need to get through. Doesn't make them any easier, but it does fill me with the purpose to go through them and come out of them better instead of coming out of them broken. If I were outside of this life, either before or after, and I'm in some sort of void, and in there I'm able to program the life that I'm about to live, I ask myself now, do I honestly think I'd program a life where everything came easy to me, where I had no hardships and no struggles, where I never had to work hard but still always got what I wanted? And the answer is no, of course not. I know for a fact I'd choose to program one with an imperfect upbringing and one full of heartbreaks and tribulations, one where I struggle through the early part of my life, barely staying afloat at times, but constantly growing as a person and working toward the life I ultimately want to live. And that's what gives me hope when certain thoughts have me down or certain instances have me down. The idea that I'm right on track, that I need to keep trucking and come out of it all the best person so that I can share that with other people. And one day, when the time is right and I've grown enough, it will get a little bit easier. I don't think I can ever stop growing and learning, at least not in this life, but I think the day will come where, for this life, I'm done, where I've gone through enough and I settle into a comfortable, happy person to enjoy the last however many years of my life. I don't know exactly what my beliefs are on what happens outside of this life. I guess I'd like to think that I'm somewhat similar enough being that uses lives on Earth as a training ground to develop strength and stoicism or the mental fortitude needed to take the next step in whatever may be the stages of that existence. But I have no idea. And again, I guess it doesn't really matter, but it does in order for me to go through this life the best way possible. If I believe that I'm here to grow as a person, then that becomes reality. That becomes what is real. And then that becomes the way that I live my life instead of living it down because life can fucking suck at times. Speaking of all this life and God stuff, Kanye West finally dropped his album, Jesus is King. Such a disappointment. For me, at least. If that's your jam, that's your jam, or jamza. But for me, was not what I wanted. And I've only listened to it once, and it was just immediate disdain for it, because it wasn't what I was looking for. And I'm not the biggest Kanye fan, but I am a big fan. Like, I've College Dropout and Graduation, 808s, love those 3 albums. Sort of fell off in the middle, but Yay, when he dropped Yay, that was my most listened album of the year. And I loved it. It was short, great beats. The production, obviously, as always, is great. I thought the lyrics were fun. I thought that he had reached a new stage of his career where he was really comfortable being him. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe now he's reached the stage where he's comfortable being him. And this more religious vibe is him really being him. And if so, then good for him. But I can't help but feel it's some sort of artistry that he's trying to do and push for some reason. I don't know. I'm not buying it. And I guess that's the problem. I'm not buying what he's selling. Like this album, I'm not buying it. All this talk about religious things this episode, I find it crazy, and I don't think this necessarily contradicts exactly what I've been saying, but I do find it crazy that people do believe in God still as much as they do. I feel like to really think about it, it doesn't make sense. At least the whole biblical story, when you've got nice scientific explanations for most things that make a lot more sense. But then you've got professional athletes top of the game, and a lot of them feel they owe so much of what they have to God. And that always still surprises me or catches me off guard. The Washington Nationals just won the World Series. Really happy for them. I'm a big DC sports fan, so that was great to see. I'm a Harper fan too, so kind of sad to see them do it without him. But when he was there, it was always Harper and the Nats. This year, it was just the Nats. Much more complete team, no big egos. You had Juan Soto took another huge step this year. Scherzer pitching like an animal through injury. Super happy for Strauss in the year he had, especially after they shut him down. That one year, it looked like they could have done this. The Stros just won one too, and they'll be back, I'm sure. The Nats, they won their first ever playoff series this season en route to the World Series. So super happy for them. Fuck Dan Schneider. He's the only DC sports owner that definitely doesn't deserve a championship, even though I'm a big Redskins fan. But when the Nationals won the World Series and they're doing interviews on the field and this and that, so many of the players during these immediate moments when they're allowed to really give their feelings and it's raw and they're emotional, they just reached what they've been working for in their entire life, and their immediate thoughts are to thank God. I find that so strange. And that's, of course, because I don't think I'm ever going to thank God. I don't believe that anything that I'm doing is coming from God. I believe that it's all coming from me, and I will entertain the fact that maybe what's coming from me is related to some sort of superior being outside of here, but that they don't actually have any impact in the life that I'm living on Earth right now. But I guess that shows the power of belief. That these athletes, maybe there's so many professional athletes at the highest tier of their sport because they've got this otherworldly belief that there's something helping them along, helping them reach this moment in their career. And when they finally do reach it, it's like, well, yeah, big ups to the big man. Good for God, though. Whoever his PR team has done a hell of a job, especially when, if he is real, that's not a pun of any sort. If he is real, he's done some heinous shit and continues to do it. But still everybody's like, no, God's great. God's a good dude. Who cares if kids get cancer? That's the one thing. If I do believe in something, I don't believe in it in the one, I guess, Christian sense, whatever it is. I'm not religious at all, so I don't know whose sense. I don't know the difference between Christians and Catholics or whatever, or what Orthodox means. I don't know any of that. But I guess I don't believe in what I've heard about how that all works. I can get down with the fact that there's something more going on above all of this or outside of all of this, but it's not some one superior, supreme, good being that only does good and wants you to do good and do everything in his name, and then you're accepted into heaven if you've done all these things. Because wouldn't he send Jews and Hitler to hell? Something like that. Because he would send two completely different people that hate each other already, that don't agree on anything. They could both end up in hell for silly reasons. If God is real, I think that he's going to understand what I've gone through and how I've dealt with them. And I think it all comes down to my intentions during it. I don't think I need to tell my sins and go through all that nonsense. I can go through all that within myself and come up with a plan to live better going forward. And if this supreme being knows my thoughts and all this crap, then he's going to know that I'm trying my best here. I'm just trying to live a life. Not kill myself at some point. Stay positive. Eat ice cream sandwiches for breakfast. Just rip a little. But it's tough to turn our backs on God now because religion was one of the main couple things that humans came up with to bring about civilization. The fact that such a wide group of people could believe in the same thing allowed for uniformity and us to all work together toward something else, because we all had the same, we shared something, we had something in common, and it was a belief in something else going on. And so we could all band together around that point. Animals don't believe in God, and I've met some animals smarter than some people. So if animals don't believe in God, I guess I don't know that for sure. Maybe animals do believe in God. My cat definitely seems like she sees God at times, just looking around the room, random corners at things. It's terrifying. That's the biggest thing that makes me doubt heaven. Do you know how many people and their dogs and cats, horses, ferrets, eyes would be up there? There'd be so many. How big's this place? And even if it's big enough to house us all, then it's like so much bigger than the world, probably. Like, how am I ever going to find the people I'm looking for? Speaking of big things, that's my go-to segue, hey? Whenever I pause and then another point comes into my head, it's just, speaking of, gotta work on that. But big things, hey? That fit a lot of things in it. What I'm trying to get at is I don't think the ocean really knows what it's doing anymore. Been around for so long and has hosted living things for so long that some of the animals it's coming up with are just ridiculous. Probably a lot like heaven in that sense. Have you seen some of the things in the ocean? The ocean makes me believe in aliens. I see some of the things down there, weird squid-like things and things with light bulbs in their heads. And I'm like, yeah, those are aliens. If those all just came up to the surface one day, I'd take them to my leader, for sure. But also, I'm sure there's fucking weird shit on other planets. Somewhere out there has to be. Are aliens just gods? You know, there's accounts and tales from thousands of years ago of angels coming down and this thing and roaring chariots of fire. It's like, could that not just be a roaring engine that is, blasting off? And it was just aliens coming down and they seem all powerful and they're so much more intelligent. Aliens would seem like gods to us now, except we'd realize what they were, but definitely to people that didn't have the scientific knowledge that we have today, aliens would be gods for sure. They'd be able to do crazy things. They'd have all the knowledge. They'd help us. Makes the most sense, right? Makes more sense than there just being gods and angels and things. Makes sense that at some point some extraterrestrials were passing by and they hopped down to see what was going on and helped us out a little bit and then had to get back on their way. And they haven't come back because obviously the universe is massive, as big as heaven probably, as big as the ocean maybe. And so it's like they're not coming back. They're going somewhere else and maybe they haven't even reached there yet. But other ones will come along. Build a galactic highway. Get your towels ready. If you haven't seen The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, must-see movie. Most Def. Arthur Dent is the main character's name. I'm not going to get the actor's name. It's not Michael Clark Duncan, though. Zooey Deschanel, I think, plays the girl, the main female character. A whale drops from the sky at one point. That's amazing. Must-see movie. Not the recommendation, though. The recommendation today, as I mentioned before, is a YouTube video. Go onto YouTube, type Shiny, and you're looking for the one by Daniel Cloud Campus. It's the third one down currently. You'll know it's the right one. It's 3 minutes and 54 seconds. You'll know it's the right one if the picture is like it's a bunch of clothes shaped as a guy. But watch this YouTube video, Shiny. It's only 4 minutes. Super cool. Check it out. Since we're at the recommendation part of the podcast, it's that sad time again where I turn off the mic, get some water, have some breakfast. But before that, tell a friend. Tell a friend about the podcast. Or not a friend. Tell anybody. They don't have to be a friend. Tell someone you don't like. Tell someone that you think needs to look at life differently. Deal with life, Tell them. Tell one of your parents. Only one of them, though. And then see if they tell the other parent. That's what I want. Tell one of your parents, but don't tell the other one. And then see what happens. Report back. Just like you will report back on the riddle for today. Give the answer out to that on the next episode, along with another riddle. And shout out whoever gets the riddle correctly. Have a good week. I hope it's not easy, but you feel good at the end of it. I hope you eat a good breakfast at some point. A big one.
You can have it all.
And
If you learn what all is, you can
yeah.
make dreams come
Bye.
true. You can find bliss.
I'll miss you.
Just remember it adds, and remember it will flow back.